Welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Journey podcast. I'm your host, Sana. Now, today's conversation, it is about life as it really is. Not polished, not perfectly healed, just honest. We often hear that we should learn from our experiences, but no one really talks about how uncomfortable that learning can be. The grief that doesn't follow a straight line, the joy that shows up quietly, the lessons we already know but somehow forget. My guest today has built an entire body of work around noticing those moments. Through books, quilts, essays, and storytelling, she captures everyday experiences and asks a simple question. What is life trying to teach us? Her newest book, Chai on Life, is a collection of short, slice of life stories, each paired with a single lesson and a visual illustration. It is thoughtful, sometimes funny, sometimes tender, and very human. And listeners, joining me today is author, artist, educator, and storyteller Lorie Kleiner Eckert. Lorie, welcome to the Mindful Journey, and I'm really honored to have you here.
Thank you so much, Sana. I am also just thrilled to be here with you. I've listened to your show and I'm proud to be a part of it now.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Laurie. I'm really, really flattered actually. So thank you. And I think the title itself is such a beautiful one because let me tell you, listeners, I'm from India, and for India, chai is like life, for me as well. I mean, people say that, uh, of course, it's a beverage, it's caffeine and all that stuff, but still on a rainy day, or even it's hot summer day, or on a winter, a morning chai, um it's like, Laurie, to be honest, it's the best way of having that mindfulness for all of us Indians. So I'm really loving that, you kind of integrated here this word in the title. It's really, really exciting.
Can I tell you about that a little bit?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Well, there are actually many ways that that word can be pronounced and understood. I was thrilled to have one of the meanings be chai tea because I'm a coffee drinker, not chai tea, but there's nothing like a cup of coffee. You don't even have to drink it. You just have to hold it in your hands and let it warm you, you know?
Yes,
It's
yes.
wonderful. So, but, um, it is also, when pronounced hi, like, "Hi, how are you?" Or like High, um, is a word that has a mystical meaning in Hebrew, and it means life. So if you've ever heard, the toast, "L'chaim," to life, maybe you saw Fiddler on the Roof or something with the little Jewish content, and they did, l'chaim, they're drinking to life. And so, that is also the meaning that was intended, and, um and, and I also like, so when you use that pronunciation, I like it to be understood that, yes, I really am high on life. Life can be quite a challenge, but learning from our experiences, you say, and reaching a kind of a ripe old age, I'm 73. Um, it gets easier, it really does, you figure a lot of things out. So anyway, so the title of the book, Chai on Life, I love it. Let's do it your way, and let's let everyone have a cup of chai tea as we have a chat here.
Beautiful, beautiful, absolutely. That's such a beautiful beginning to the conversation, listeners in there. Thank you so much, Laurie. And Chai on Life is built around short stories with one-line lessons. Um, why did you choose that format instead of longer narrative? Is it because of the short attention span of the current generation?
Let's see, how did we get there? Um, the main thing that I have been writing for the last 5 or 6 years has been blog posts. Before that, I was a columnist, and, so I've always written short stories, always have the same MO. I tell the stories of my life, hoping other people can glean life lessons from them. I don't claim to be a guru of any sort. I just tell the stories of my life. And I've been writing, blogs for my website for 5 or 6 years, maybe it's 7, I don't know, lost track. I write 2 stories, every month and post them, and they're anywhere from, like, 750 words to 1,000 because people are inundated with emails, so when they get an email from me with a new blog, I don't want them to, discard it, I want them to open it. And so that's how I got into the short story format. And if, sometimes when I've been interviewed, talking to writers and how to write things and so forth. But it's a very manageable kind of thing to write because you start off, you tell your audience what you're going to say, and then you support what you say with 3 facts, and then you wrap it up, and if each of those 5 parts has 150 words, you've written a 750 word story. So that's how I got to writing these short stories, and every one I gave a one-line takeaway. So, for instance, there is a story called 30 Reasons to Be Grateful at my granddaughter's soccer game. And one of the reasons was that another grandma had her shirt on inside out, but it wasn't me. And so I was grateful that that day I had it all together because some other day I might be the one wearing my shirt inside out. And so after I gave the 30 reasons to be grateful there, which included all kinds of things, like I found a parking place at the park. My
Mhm.
daughter also came to the game, so I got to talk to my daughter. It was a hot day, but none of the kids passed out. There were 30 things to be grateful for. So the one line takeaway from that is there is always something to be grateful for. And, I think that really speaks to, a lesson that we know, but we forget. And in our darkest days, we really need to pull that up. And I also say with my stories, so besides telling the stories of my life, hoping you will glean life lessons from them, I also think that my main message is that life is difficult or life can be difficult, but that you can do it. And I say I work as a cheerleader with that message, rah rah, you can do it. And I think you can. Yeah, I think you just have to believe in yourself.
Definitely. 500,000%. I don't know, infinite testimony because, we often say, I mean, especially millennials, like, there are days when universe is working against you, conspiring against you, and everything is going wrong. Small stuff, activities, everything going wrong. And then one good thing happens and we're like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling so good. And that way, and also I believe, Laurie, that, um uh, as a millennial, I have enjoyed the life before, like pre-internet, pre-computers,
Mm.
and after internet computers. Like right now, everything is accessible. I mean, we are I'm virtually able to connect with you. You are in the States, I'm here in India. And I think somewhere down the line, we kind of, not intentionally, maybe unintentionally ignore that, everything is kind of within our access. So somewhere down the line, we forget to be, to be thankful for what is there with us, or some good things, some small good moments that are happening. So I think these short stories can help bring back, us to those, thanking those good moments. That thank goodness I'm here. I'm living for another day. There's roof over my head. I'm getting 2 meals a day, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I really I've been in emotional place. I have been emotionally in a place often, frequently. In my younger life, though, I'm really gonna say I think I'm telling everyone, "Hold on for old age," because you get a lot of things figured out. But yeah, there are days when it feels like the world is conspiring against you, the universe, God, whomever, and, and so, I mean, when my kids were little, we used to ask them at bedtime, my ex-husband, now ex-husband, and I used to ask them, "What was your happiest thing of the day?" And so there's always something, like, okay, I don't know what, I wanted a feast, but I had a meal. I hoped my boyfriend took me for a fancy meal, but he took me to McDonald's or whatever, but it's still I got to eat, so there's always something to be grateful for, and, um, and you do have to focus on the happy times, so, um, I don't know, I think you have to give yourself permission to realize that some of it is good. I don't know. I guess I'm just so fortunate because I have been in a good place for a very long time now. And I have, 3 grown kids. They're all, successfully launched, as they say. And I have 10 grandkids. And so I hope everybody has somebody. And I also have a very dear friend since elementary school who knows more about me than I know about me, but she's listened to everything through the years. So I hope if nothing else, everyone has a friend. That's a very important thing to have. And actually in High on Life, one of my stories is about 3 places to find a friend. So one of the places is to go back to elementary school and think of who you might have been friends with there. And another one is, your extended family. So maybe you don't get along with your brother, but maybe you get along with his wife or his wife's mother. So I count those people as your extended family. In my case, I'm very dear friends with my daughter's mother-in-law. She's dear friends with her mother-in-law too. Her mother-in-law is a very wonderful person, but we have a relationship that some people think is really weird that we have it, but I need all the friends I can get. So here's someone, Sue is her name. She and I love the same 3 children. We share 3 grandchildren. She loves her son and her daughter-in-law. I love my daughter and son-in-law. We love the same people. So why not be friends? And then the third place to look for a friend is really whatever you're doing at work, whatever club you might join or whatever. And it's really never too late to make a new friend. So one of my newer friends is a woman named Vera. And where did we meet? But at a cancer caregivers support group when we were both going through really rough times. Me with my significant other had lung cancer. Her husband had a blood disorder, blood cancer. It was really a rough time, but we made friends, so it's never too late to make a friend, never too late to make a friend. And if I may,
Mhm.
uh, another story in the book is called How to Reinvent Yourself. And my belief is that we reinvent ourselves many, many, many times in our lifetime. So, like, when you graduate from school, you reinvent yourself. You become a new person when you get married, you become a new person when you have a child. You're always reinventing yourself, and it's always challenging, even the happy reinventions. Of course, there are reinventions when you break up with someone, when you get fired from a job, when you flunk out of a class or whatever, but indeed, you just keep, reinventing yourself. And so, when you're reinventing yourself in a difficult time after a divorce, after a death in the family or whatever, you really, so there you are in those days where you like you said, where the universe seems to be conspiring against you. You really, or at least I don't even wanna get off the sofa. I wanna just stay there with my head covered with the blanket, and I don't wanna do anything, but you can't, you know? So, but on those really dark days when it's something it's where it's difficult to do anything, I have a two-step plan. Number 1, you have to get up off the sofa. You have to have a healthy routine. So you have to wake up, you have to get dressed, you have to take your shower and brush your teeth and eat something nutritious. So you have to do all of those healthy things. So a routine is very important, especially when it feels like the world is against you. But the other thing is that you have to take one step a day, just one, toward your new life, toward what you're aiming for. So if you are indeed looking for friends because you don't even feel you have that, you have to take one step a day in that direction. And I believe it's important to get a little notebook and make an accountability log. So you write down today's date. Let's see, what is it? It is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. And and you write down what step you took that day. So maybe you called an organization that you were hoping to join to see when their next meeting is, or something like that. You don't have to do anything hard. Or maybe you did a Google search for uh, people who are in a walking club near you, or a bicycle riding club, or people who want to meet with their pets in the park. So you make one call or one Google search or whatever, you write it down in your journal, to prove that you did it. And I promise you, within like 7 days, if you do one thing a day for 7 days, you're going to be on a new path. You're going to start to again, if it's friendship you're looking for, you're gonna start meeting people, and then it's up to you, then it's up to you to say, "Hey, wanna go for a cup of chai tea? Um, I'll meet you after this event." So, yeah, I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, especially for people who are in the stage of life. I do think it's kind of a stage of life where the universe seems to be conspiring against you. I think it gets easier. Check with your elders. I think it gets easier. Does for me.
Absolutely. That's really heartwarming. That's really heartwarming, Laurie. Um, one quick question, like a bit of a nuanced one. Like you mentioned something like the Rara cheerleader. And you have described yourself as a bit of a Rara cheerleader for life, but kind of a pushback. Like, do you think constant encouragement to say yes to life can sometimes ignore real limits or exhaustion or emotional burnout? If you are enjoying the mindful journey, take 2 seconds to follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. It helps the show reach more people who need a softer, steadier space to land. And if he can leave a quick review, it seriously make a difference. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, of course. And so, I one again, another story in High on Life. I had someone on Facebook. Uh, I had posted something that said, in order to be happy, do more of the things that make you happy, which was just such a, Pollyanna goody two shoes kind of thing to say. And this woman wrote to me and she said, "I don't even know how to be happy." So I wrote back her and I said, "Forgive me for that light-hearted, answer to you. And perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps sometimes the answer, life is not an addition problem. Add something that makes you happy, though maybe that is. But it's also a subtraction problem. Take away something that, is making you unhappy." So I throw out there for, yes, people with very real limits to think of what you can add to be happier and what you can, what if you we all have as jugglers, we've got a lot of balls in the air. What ball can you put down? And beyond that, also in that story, I say, I'm talking for your generic kind of, bad luck time period in your life. If you've got, very real problems, if you're in an abusive relationship, if you are addicted to something, to some substance, drugs or alcohol or whatever, yeah, this Pollyanna stuff is not going to do you any good. You really need to seek out professional help. And again, there's another story in High on Life about my own experience in counseling, and I was with a therapist for over 20 years, and I was really living a very fortunate, wonderful life, but it had me down. Mainly, it was when my son, who's now almost 50, was 14 years old, and it was pretty much a real challenge being a mom to a teenage boy. But,
Mm.
I did seek therapy, and I stuck with it for a long time, because there were times where the therapist thought I was done with therapy, but I didn't agree. There were times that I thought I was done with therapy, but she didn't agree. And what finally happened was like 20 years later, she retired. And lo and behold, I have been fine on my own. But that story ends with me giving you the phone number for the, crisis hotline or whatever. And I find absolutely no stigma whatsoever to getting psychological help. If you don't wanna do talk therapy, your doctor can give you, antidepressant, anti-anxiety drugs. Also, I take an anti-anxiety drug because 'cause I'm a perfectionist and all this kind of stuff. I see nothing wrong with that. So there's lots of ways to feel better, and I encourage you in the method. Again, I hear you. There are very real limitations, and I hope that everyone in your listening audience makes it to age 73 when you can really look back and see it all. I mean, to see it with my kids, they're all um, stressed to the max, so each of my 3 children is raising 3 children, my son's raising 4. Um, oh my god, so it does get easier, so I encourage everyone to hold on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is such an important point. I think one of the very essence of why conversations like this, especially around mental health or seeking help or seeking support, it is so, so crucial. Um, I want to shift into, joy and cultural lens, because title Chai on Life or High on Life, it plays on high on life with the Jewish cultural lens. As we were talking about before, um, you know, beginning with the conversation in the introduction, you mentioned about it. Like, how does your cultural identity shape the way you understand joy, resilience, and everyday meaning, Laurie?
Yeah, well, culturally, I have been raised to, help other people. And again, another story, in the book, it talks about, a very famous rabbi named Hillel, and he said, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? So you take care of yourself. If I am for myself alone, what am I? So you take care of the other guy. And if not now, when?" And so it's a mandate to get going on the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so that is where I do get my joy in life is in making sure I'm taking care of myself, but also, taking care of I am my brother's keeper, so I take care of others, and again, in professionally, I have been a cheerleader, acknowledging life is difficult, but you can do it, and, um, culturally also, I am, told that it's my job to repair the world, and so, that's both, the environment and the people around me, and I feel that and so you have to, you ask God to, give you the strength to make your life a blessing, and so I feel that's what I do with my writing, trying to encourage someone. It's always so nice to hear from someone that, they were having a bad day or whatever, but this particular story that I wrote really spoke to them, and so that's all cultural for me to take care of myself, to take care of others, to have a meaningful life, to do meaningful things. And there's a famous prayer that in Judaism that says, birth is a beginning, and death is a destination, and life is a journey. And then it goes on to say that in this journey, you go from like health to sickness, and then we pray back to health again. But it also says that we go from defeat to defeat to defeat, which, oh, that speaks to me because there have been times in my life that that's where I've been, but
Mm.
doesn't make any difference because life is the journey. So, um, and so you have to, maintain everything that you're doing, the duality of taking care of yourself and taking care of others, doing the best you can to live a meaningful life. And culturally, uh, that's joy. That's joy.
I agree. I agree. That was beautiful. And what I hear, um, is uh, culture, how it becomes a doorway, not a barrier. I mean, the details may be specific, but the emotions are, familiar. And I believe that's often where connection happens, like human connection happens.
I agree. One of the, images in High on Life, um, this is this has always been mind-boggling to me, is the expression, "The joy is in the journey." So that's
Mhm.
really what I just said to you, but if you look at the word journey, it starts with J-O and it ends with
Yeah.
I. So, literally, in English, the joy is in the journey. I think that's a great, you know I think that's the universe telling me something. So, that's just me.
No, no, it does. It does. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Nori, before we wrap up, I mean, you have written books, created art, spoken to thousands, and now you're releasing High on Life. So, when someone finishes this book, what do you hope actually changes for them?
Oh, that's a great question. What I hope changes for them is that they say, "Oh, look at this lady wrote all these stories of her life. I've got stories too." So I hope that people start to write down their stories because not just for posterity, but because, um, you resolve your own problems as you write. Again, in High on Life, there's a story about 3 reasons to write in a journal. So, I think that you learn so much about yourself by writing, and, uh, uh one, famous journal writer person who I can't think of her name at the moment, but she said, "Every morning you should write in a journal for, like, 10 minutes, and you should just absolutely write down everything that's troubling you to get it out of your mind so that you can go on to have a good day." And, so journal writing does all kinds of things. So I am happy to report that it's in the works and soon will be available that there is a journal that will go along with High on Life so that other people can reflect on their own lives. But again, it's just a wonderful, wonderful place to do the pros and cons. I've got this problem. What am I going to do? And if you write it down in a journal after you did it, if you were successful, now you've got a blueprint for how to do it again next time, and if you weren't successful, you know exactly what not to do. But there it is, all in your journal, so I'm a big proponent of that, and, yeah, and I haven't cornered the market on life stories, everyone has them, every place you look, there's something to learn. And I encourage people to learn. So once when I was newly divorced, there was a plot of land on the corner that had a sign on it, opportunity, it said. In other words, you could buy this and build your business there. And I thought, if that clump of earth has, potential, so do I. So the messages are all over. Sweep them together into a journal. That's what I hope people will look at this and say, "Look what she did here. She just wrote down the stories of her life. I'm gonna do that too." And that would be a real gift to me if people started to do that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. And I think this kind of teaching, like this desire to teach people, um new truths or and but to remind them of truths they already know, may have forgotten. I think it's quite, but it lasts. So thank you so much, Lorie, for such a heartwarming um homecoming um conversation. Definitely it's really really soul touching. And if listeners, they would like to get a hold of High on Life, they would like to connect with you, what would be the easiest way?
Yeah, I am. If you Google my name, the whole name, Lorie Kleiner Eckert, you will find a million different hits out there. But most specifically, if you went to my website, which is loriekleinereckert.com, or if you want to see my quilt artwork, it's loriekleinereckert.etsy.com, or if you want me on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere like that, just type in Lorie Kleiner Eckert, and you'll find me. And then the book is available anywhere books are sold, and of course, that includes Amazon, which can get books to people all over the world so easily. And, it's a little coffee table book. It's 6.5 inches square, so it's an odd shape, and then it has all of these beautiful images in it with their one-line takeaway from each story, so you don't even have to be much of a reader, you can just look at the pretty pictures and feel better, so, yeah, I hope people will find me, and on my website, there's a contact me, so you can fill that out, and I would be, you would be in touch with me and that, or write to Lorie at loriekleinereckert.com. That would be great.
Amazing. So to make that easier, listeners, what I'm going to do is have all the links, all the details in the show notes. So just hover over to them along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And my goodness, listeners, High on Life reminds us that meaning doesn't always come from big moments. Sometimes it comes from noticing what's already here. So, if this episode resonated with you, listeners, I invite all of you, every one of you, to reflect on one small moment from your own life this week and ask, what might this be teaching me? Because you don't need a perfect answer, just curiosity. And Lorie, thank you so much for bringing such honesty and humanity into this conversation.
Well, thank you for your podcast, it's wonderful and you're wonderful, thanks so much.
Thank you, Lorie. And thank you to all the listeners for tuning into the Mindful Journey. Until next time, I'm your host, Sana, and take care of yourself gently. Thank you.